Hello and welcome to the Nebraska Prep Zone Report. We are sponsored today by MD West One, Nebraska's most advanced sports medicine, orthopedics, neurosurgery, and spine care, covering Greater Omaha for over 70 years. I'm your host, Jake Anderson, and joining me to preview some state finals, Stu Pospisil. How are you doing today, Stu?
I told you I wasn't going to be a one-off guest.
We are glad to have you back. Before we get into the list of all 7 finals, I want to get your thoughts on no finals at Memorial Stadium this year and games at the higher seed.
Dave, in the stadium, it did not make sense. It did not, with the already existing attendance limitations put on by the Lincoln-Lancaster County Health Department of 1,000 each side, with the threat going into the weekend of even further restrictions, it just was behooved the NSAA to go to home sites. I think it was wise to move the games up into this weekend, this Friday. Sadly, all the games can't be on live TV. I think NET deserves big kudos for being able to get 2 games on, starting with the C2 game in Fremont between Bergen and Aurora, and then coming back at 7 with the Class A game that attracts the most interest, Elkhorn South and Westside. And the rest they're going to stream live and replay later, probably on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. That's kind of been their MO in the past when they've done tape delays of NSAA events. And I think it's the best thing possible. I think the NSAA has navigated this fall season very well. We've gotten everything done. I mean, who would have bet that back on July 1 when things started to open up? As for the home fields, they're following the protocols that they have during the season. People whining about, well, Westside gets the game or Elkhorn gets the game. Why not neutral sites, or why not follow what's said on the bracket? East is the home team or West. That East-West designation really only lives on in what sideline in Memorial Stadium you were going to use. And obviously Scott Frost likes the West sideline this year. Maybe it's good luck. But as far as, I think we should be going to higher seats for everything. And maybe this helps kick in for B, C, and D football, that all playoff games go to the higher seed, which Class A has done and done quite well.
Are you surprised that, given that Buell Stadium is highly used for obviously 3 teams there and is a great venue, nothing against Westside, are you kind of surprised that they didn't try and do at a Buell Stadium?
No, not at all. Again, you're talking about having, 2 teams in the same town, and it's not like it's going to be filled to capacity. You're going to have probably 350, maybe 400 people on either side. It's not like it's going to be 5,000 Westside and 1,000 Elkhorn South. It's going to be equal numbers, and right now turf fields are turf fields. They're all marked the same way. It's not like why not where one end of the football field is 4 feet higher than the other. There's no intrinsic home field advantage other than maybe having a locker room at hand, and the visiting team, maybe has to step off the bus, or, Westside's going to accommodate them the best they can, given protocols. And I think the NSAA did things the best they could.
Yeah, I agree. I think it makes the most sense, especially with the quick turnaround. Logistically, put it at the host site, and it's no different than the semifinal round. You're going to have to travel.
Right. Well, and what's the distance from 204th and Pacific to 87th and Pacific? 12 miles. Aurora and Elkhorn. I mean, Aurora is going to be coming to Lincoln anyway. So I think those that complain need to worry about other things in their lives than that.
Well, let's get to the on-field action for Elkhorn South Westside. What are you looking for in that matchup?
Well, I'm looking at Elkhorn South really had played everybody else during the season except Bellevue West, which was an early out, surprisingly, and Westside. Elkhorn South has the chance to take down a second undefeated team in the playoffs. They took out Lincoln Southeast in the quarterfinals, and then last week got past surprising Kearney 10-3. I think that game suggests that Elkhorn South is going to have to play very well on defense and keep it low scoring against a Westside team that put up 35 last week in a very fun game to cover. And you had to feel greatly for TJ Urban and Millard South because they left everything on the field. Their coach was dealing with family health issues, and what Andy Means wasn't able to be there, and they almost gave the coach a really morale boost. It was a 35-33 game. That suggests that Westside has some potential things to shore up on defense this week because they gave up 200 yards to a running quarterback. Another key issue in this game is, will Elkhorn South have Dylan Krause available, who went out in the first quarter of the 10-3 win over Kearney last week. If he's not there, they're really going to have to try and make it a 17-10 ball game to win this one.
And there are some very interesting storylines on this. You have Husker commits facing off. You have another Big Ten commit, Avante Dickerson, who's going to Minnesota. I think this is, without Bellevue West, I think this is the best possible state final matchup for Class A that we could have gotten.
Well, consider all the legacies from Husker football of the late 90s, the national championship years. I mean, you look at Westside, first of all, you've got Colby Brown, Chris Brown's son, Damon Benning's son as a freshman. You got Rob Zadika's son in the line. Elkhorn South is even more. You've got Eric Crouch's son. You got Matt Hoskinson. You've got Kyle Emsick's, Maverick Noonan. I mean, Danny Noonan's kid is a sophomore. He's going to be a very good player and already is for the Storm. So you got great storylines. You got very good players. You've got D1 commits everywhere. Teddy Prochaska. You've got Cole Payton. You've got Colby Bratz. You've got Avante Dickerson. You've got an awful, short of Bellevue West being on that field with either team, you've got the most talent college bound that's possible this year.
Definitely. And then in Class B, as we mentioned, Aurora traveling to Elkhorn. What should we keep an eye out for on that one?
Well, Aurora's a hot team. The Huskies lost their first two games. Since then, they've won 9 of 10, and they're behind Mac Owens and Ethan Shaw. They're going more running this year than 2 years ago when they were in C1 and they had Baylor Shireman, the most prolific passer of all time in a single season in state history with 59 touchdown passes. So Kyle Peterson at Aurora has adapted his offense well, as he always does. And he's going against somebody who could be winning a state title in his fourth decade, over a title every year over 4 decades with Mark Workman and the Elkhorn Antlers. I have them preseason number 1. They are in the state finals. Good offensive skill set. Aiden Young, who has been banged up, he's another one to watch how long he can go in the final. You've got Grant Gutschow, 3-year starting quarterback. You've got the 2 big receivers, Gannon Gregor and Drew Christo. These are 2 power programs of Class B in the past 20 years for Aurora and the past 40 for Elkhorn. And, I think it's a great matchup. I wish I could be there as well.
Yeah. We'll have Mike Patterson at Aurora Elkhorn, and you'll be at Westside and Elkhorn South.
Yep.
And then we'll have all of them covered across the board with live updates and, coverage on any Prep Zone Twitter.
Steve Bidek will be at C2, by the way, that being the afternoon game on NET. And that's an interesting matchup. You've got Koa McIntyre from Bergen, track star, very prolific run pass quarterback against the physicalness of Aurora, who have a it's not often you get a Husker kicker from a smaller school, but here's Kellen Meyer, who's booted a 58-yarder during the season for Ord. You know, his leg might decide this game as well. And then your C1 matchup is at Pierce at 5:30, and that's Adams Central, which has finally gotten to a state final against Pierce that was there last year, was injury riddled at that point, worn out. Wahoo beat them bad. You know, I like Pierce in this game to go all the way this time.
Yeah. And then our two 8-man ones are Dundee County Stratton, which is at Burwell, and Sandhills Thedford at BDS, Bruning Davenport Shickley. And then our 6-man one, which is at UNK still this year, Sterling and McCool Junction.
You know, they're all good matchups. They look pretty even on paper. Dundee County, Cerbano Diaz and Quade Myers against the Birch and Bush show out there. Lots of 1,000-yarders in that game. Sandhills Thedford gets to the finals. They go to BDS, which has a good pedigree over the past 7 years in state championship competition. BDS will be looking for another title there. And in 6-man, McCool Junction's been riding at #1 all year. Sterling, good season for them, undefeated matchup. Both of those started in 6-man at the same time 3 years ago. So they've reached the ultimate game at the same time.
Yeah, and we'll look forward to your preview coverage, your annual picks column, the competition with Mike Patterson.
I've launched it already. It's over. But I still got a chance for 5, and that given this COVID year, any positives you can get, I'll take. So.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for the preview coverage on anyprepzone.com, live coverage throughout the night, and the post-game reactions, anyprepzone.com. You can follow Stu on Twitter at StuOWH. Until next time, thanks for listening and enjoy the state titles.
As the official team doctors for high school and college teams across Greater Omaha, MD West One Sports Med Doctors can get you back into the game, stronger than ever. Meet the Sports Med team at mdwest1.com or call 402-390-4111.